listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. My name is Amanda, and I am joined by my two friends, Tyler and Stephanie. We are a trio of coaches coming together to explore life's biggest topics. Each episode, we hold true to our name, Come As You Are, by showing up and going live. Whatever we bring to the table that week is what we talk about. No scripts, no planning, just real and raw conversations. And audience participation is always encouraged. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability and authenticity take center stage. And we believe in the power of deep conversations and soulful connections. So, welcome to the show. We're happy that you're here, and we invite you now to just sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation.
Hello.
Hi.
Y'all, we're live on Instagram now, too.
Woohoo!
Today.
It's a party.
This is official.
So if you're not sick and tired of us on YouTube or on Facebook, then you can also now enjoy us on Instagram.
Right.
We're everywhere.
It's good to be back.
Mm-hmm.
We had like an improv. We had like a 2-week hiatus for some personal things that were happening in my life, but I'm here and I'm glad to be back, and it's good to see you too.
And we're so glad you're back. I know, I missed our little Friday jam sessions. I feel like this is like just finishes off my week.
Well, I was telling Stephanie before, I said life has just been lifing really recently. Like there are so many things, and it's all good things. I mean, not what was happening to my dad and whatnot, but it's all been very positive, very wonderful things, but life has really been lifing hard recently, and like lots of moving pieces and lots of and it's all things that I've been manifesting. It's all things that have been coming up my pipeline, and y'all, when life is ready to throw you things, it is just going to throw you things. And so I feel like right now I'm kind of in the shitstorm of receiving. And, I think oftentimes we look at receiving and we look at manifestation and all of these things, and we go, oh, it's this really beautiful, blissful, wonderful thing. And really it's like, oh, you're ready. Here it is. Here's everything. And it's chaos, and it's, wonderfully messy and beautiful. And I feel a lot of gratitude for that. But boy, when life hits you sometimes. And that's where I'm at. And that's my big life update here since the last time we connected. But how are you two? I've missed you.
Oh, we missed you too. We definitely missed you too. How are we? I don't know. Amanda, how are we?
I'm excited to be back.
Collectively, the two of you together, how are you collectively, not individually?
No, I feel this though, the lifing. I totally feel this. And I think that sometimes too, when a lot of things are coming at us and it's this, so many things happening all at once, I almost feel like sometimes it's a test. And I wonder if you guys how bad do you really want it? You're saying you want it, but prove it kind of a thing. Because I feel like that's sort of a season that I've been going through recently of really in that manifestation journey, yes, but being challenged to really rise above those challenges, above the difficulties and of just life. And though I can often see the gifts and the opportunities for growth and all the lovely things, but I think it's also important to really mention that sometimes it just sucks. Sometimes it just sucks. Sometimes it's just hard. And that's part of it, And I think sometimes, we're hoping we're ready for the rainbow after the storm a bit longer sometimes to show up than we'd like. That I feel like for me is something where I'm really sitting with this, letting go and just having faith in the timings of all of the things, even though I just want it all right now. I want all the hard stuff to go away and let everything I just want to be in the rainbow. But appreciating both sides, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think it's part of it when we have the hardships come at us and the challenges that by overcoming them, this is then how we're going to get to where we want to go, and not even seeing them as like something that wasn't on the schedule. I have actually recently adopted this new mindset of it. They are on the schedule. Like they are now on my schedule. Like I'm basically not specifically planning any steps, but I know that when I head towards something, then yeah, they're gonna come. The stuff where, like you mentioned this, Amanda, of, oh, they're proving me. Like they're trying to like test me and see, oh, is this really where you want to go? I'm going to give you a hurdle here. Can you jump over it? Like, are you creative? Can you make your way around it, or like, dissolve it somehow? That, yeah, this is what I've added to my life of like, oh, I'm actually gonna like assume, yeah, they're gonna be hurdles, and wholly different journey. And ironically, the hurdles are not getting any easier or smaller, but it takes a lot less energy because I'm no longer in this sea of surprises anymore. It's no longer, what? I never saw this coming, or like, why is the universe always telling me the opposite of what I actually want, right? But I'm like, oh, that's a good sign, because it means that I'm actually going towards where I want to go. So yeah, this is actually also something that's on my mind a lot these days.
I like this idea of like not pre-planning, but like scheduling, like just having the mindset of like, I know there's going to be something that's going to challenge me, or there's a hurdle coming my way. So like, let's prepare for it. I think that's to have, Stephanie. And I think it's really important in everything that we were doing. I was just having a conversation earlier this week with, I couldn't even tell you who it was, but somebody and I were talking earlier this week, and we were having like a real conversation around like the reality of life, and how we often are fighting so hard to try to get to the destination that we don't really enjoy the journey. We don't appreciate what's happening in the moment, because usually in the moment it's kind of painful. It's kind of like there's stuff going on and we're uncomfortable and all of these kind of things. But it's really, to me, that is the essence of what this is all about. It is being aware that when you go after something that you want, it's going to come with hurdles. It's going to come with obstacles. It's going to come with setbacks. And, we have to have that resiliency to keep going regardless of what obstacle is thrown our way. And I know the three of us collectively, we've all overcome several obstacles in our journeys. And I think the bigger conversation here is changing the conversation around like the expectations on business and all of these kind of things, because it is so like, when we're in this world, it always gets painted as like this beautiful transformative journey, and it is wonderful, and I love this world, and I love that I am creating my life and being really intentional with everything that I'm building. But it doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that it's pure bliss all the time. And I think it is good today that we are acknowledging that there are obstacles, that there are setbacks, that there are shitty moments, because you like, it all comes back to the balance. Like, we have to, like, going back to the rainbow, like, you have to get through the storm in order to appreciate the rainbow. You can't live in rainbow world all of your life, even though Tyler would love that. I would love to be in rainbow world all of my life, but I know I know that that's not the reality, because the real beauty in the rainbow is that it does come after the rain. It does come after the low. And so I love the, I don't know, I love the equilibrium of like the highs and lows of life. I really appreciate that now.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is like coming of age thing, you know? Like, is this something as we age that becomes easier, or is this like a, you know, once you've done so much personal development work, right? Or maybe it's a both or and more. Because I think this takes time actually to learn and to really truly appreciate, right? Like, it's like there's so many things, like, you know, you can't appreciate the good if you don't have the bad, right? Just like the dualities of everything. And I just wonder if this is something that, yeah, naturally happens for everyone over time, or if this is just something because we're so in this, you know, personal development space that you hear it all the time, that, like, you know, like, not everything is the rainbows and sunshine, and sometimes things are hard, and we have to appreciate all of the things. And the, you know, I don't know how many times I've heard that there's always an opportunity, there's always a gift that the challenges bring to us, right? I think every single one of the programs I've ever been in always talks about this. So I wonder, yeah, how, and I mean, I think conversations like this definitely help. And so I'm actually just like in the space of gratitude that we are having this conversation. I agree. I think it's really important. It's really important to talk about this, because especially, even though, I don't know, I know I just said in personal development, but it's a personal development course, right? Like, you hear that all the time. But I also at the same time feel like in a, I'd say, like, regular everyday world, this isn't talked about enough. And I think this is why a lot of people do struggle, or a lot of people feel like life is happening to them, not for them. Because I'm of the belief that life is happening for us. And I think that's kind of the, you know, the sum of the conversation here. But there's a lot of people that I've met who are sort of in this victim mentality of, like, life is happening to me and there's nothing that I can do about it. And yeah, I know I can just leave that there and you guys will pick that up. So please somebody chime in, because I know that's juicy.
I have to like also throw in something to this spice mix that we're making here, because this is real spicy what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. That was real quirky of me. But I just started reading a book this morning. I just like read the first chapter. Just getting started with this book, and it's I forget. It's a money book. I'll have to I forgot the title already, but it's a money book. It's all around money mindset and stuff like that. And they were talking, the author was sharing that what separates like the 1%, like the super wealthy, from like the rest of the 99% is that they have conversations. They have conversations around money. And I'm bringing this to the table because what Amanda was saying was, like, so many of us don't have the vulnerable conversations. So many of us don't actually say, like, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, I'm going, like, this is challenging, like, whatever, like it's like we've been conditioned. And she said that the, you know, that the middle class and the lower to middle class and, like, you know, the poor, looking at the different class systems here, like, we're kind of conditioned to stay silent, you know, because, and I'm going to go there because why not? Because if we did start talking, we would all kind of wake up and realize, wait, we're kind of being screwed, you know? and there's, you know, more, you know, and it's like, wait, we, and this is, again, she already made, I'm already really into this book. She was making a point that this is the reason why in like the school systems, they don't teach financial education, because the school system is there to control. It's there to produce workers. We've had these conversations on this podcast before, but I think it is so important that as a society that we do have these vulnerable conversations, that we do come out and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, or let's talk money, let's talk whatever, like these taboo topics. We're all conditioned to believe that they're taboo, and if we collectively choose to open up the conversation, we're going to realize that we're not the only ones struggling. We're not the only ones, feeling the pain, feeling whatever. It's just that we are conditioned to kind of stay silent so that so that they can still, in a way, and this is going to be real out there, but in a way it's they're trying to control, they're trying to keep us secluded, cut off from each other. And this is why I so firmly believe in the power of conversation, because it awakens, it allows you to up level your life. And anyway, it was a very interesting book, but I wanted to throw that into the mix because it is important that we are talking about struggles today, and that we're not just kind of being like, oh, everything is picture perfect, but really going, hey, what are we struggling with? What are our vulnerabilities? Because there's a lot of collectiveness in that. Like, you're not the only one struggling, even though you so often feel like that.
Wow. Somebody crank up the AC. You were like, I want to add something to the spice mix. And I just have this image, when you go to a restaurant and they have these like pictures to show you how hot it is, like how spicy it is. And it's like 1 chili, 2 chilies, 3 chilies. You just like did it from like 1 chili to a solid 5 kind of.
I need you to sign a waiver.
No, this is not new. This is what we do. So,
It's true, but I think I think because it is something that so many people almost suffer in silence, right? And I think that's what is so important about having this conversation, is that it actually takes so much strength. In my opinion, it takes more strength in our society, in the way that the environment of the world is, to speak up and to say that I'm struggling. Whereas I think that, at least from my perspective and from what I've seen, it's like, if you admit that you're struggling, this is weakness, this is, failure, this is, the worst thing ever. When I think in reality, saying that you're struggling actually takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength. Instead of just pretending it doesn't exist or putting on a mask, actually showing up and saying, yeah, sometimes things are hard and sometimes I struggle. And I think this is so helpful, because then other people can relate and other people can feel like, oh yeah, you know what, me too. And that's why I love that we're that we're having this conversation.
What I would throw in here is in regards to like speaking about it. I started this a couple of years ago to just have conversations on money and share, just like, with friends or coworkers, and just, throw a sentence in here and there and just see, okay, how receptive are they to this? And, can I notice any signs, body language or verbal cues, to see if it makes them uncomfortable, or are they willing to also share a little bit? And it's been so interesting. And a lot of conversations, a lot is actually like it fizzles out, so there's not a lot of like, oh yeah, let's talk about it there. And I think with this whole like staying silent thing, I do believe this too. I think at the end of the day, capitalism is an oppressive concept to begin with. And what I find here in Germany, for example, is that when you sign a contract with the corporate company, or I think really any company, then you're not allowed to talk about the salary that you're making. So
Wow.
it's in the contract when you're signing that you're not allowed to disclose this to anyone, any other living human being. And so it just goes to show, like, imagine this is in the law of whatever, Germany in this case, that you can't even talk about it. So there's so many little ways how, in not such a great way, this like shame and fear around money is manifested in our societies. And I too love this conversation here that we're talking about it, and that we get to like shake it a little bit and say like, hello, I don't like this. Let's change it. Knocking on the door.
What would you change? How would you change the kind of the narrative here, this conversation? What would you like to see?
I think I'd love all of us to just feel comfortable and include conversations from the very get-go. And I think this is also a lot of like trauma work, because the parents who have been kind of paralyzed in that area, they won't talk to their children about it. And then you have the kids also grow up with that same kind of mindset. So it's just really start from the get-go to raise the awareness for us to know that we can talk about money and it's nothing uncomfortable. So shifting that, but I know this is like, it takes a village to do that, right? So here we are starting with this, I'd say. And just have us talk about money, just like we're talking about the weather or chocolate or our favorite TV show or just any other mundane topic. And that it's not this big, like, thing, you know, but this like, oh yeah, it's just money, you know, it's just like the bananas in my kitchen.
Well, and it's so easy. It's so interesting too, because you know, one of the hot topics, you know, in the coaching space is talking about abundance, and you know, that's a really big topic, but yet we're not actually having the conversations about, you know, around like what is abundance and what does that look like and how does that reflect to money and things like that. And you know, I've been fascinated recently, like with the money books and like learning about the topic and learning about the subject and kind of exploring like what does make the 1% different, you know? And it's honestly not, I think there's a lot of misconceptions in that, you know, the 1% gets seen as being super greedy and being, you know, all of these kind of things. And yet also like, no, they just know how to work the system, you know? And like, that's something that I'm learning is like, this is all a system, you know? Everything is built and constructed in a way, and you can hack the system, you can figure it out. And in doing so, you're going to have those hard money talks. You're going to have to like look at yourself and ask yourself, what do I believe about money? What do, you know, what's limiting me right now? What is limiting my money mindset? And like these are hard conversations, because again, it does feel so taboo. It does feel so like icky, you know, to have these conversations, but they're so empowering. They're so important that we have these discussions. And Stephanie, I cannot believe that you guys have to sign a contract that says like you can't disclose your salary. Like, that's shocking that, you know, that we do that. And I, you know, I remember one time, again, I was like fresh, I was like right out of high school. I had just gotten a job at the bank. I was working as a part-time teller at the bank, and I just casually asked, I was like, one of my coworkers, I was like, oh, so what do you make? And it was so eye-opening, her response, because she got all like, she was like, I don't like to disclose my salary, things like that. And I was like, and in that moment I was like, why? Like, why is it such a secret? You know, how much do you make? How much do you make? Like, and it's so like, it's such a larger systemic problem that we are facing. And I think it's through these podcasts, these conversations, us being able to come on here and kind of open up the dialogue and say, okay, let's stir up the pot a little bit. Let's shake things up, because why not? I want to dismantle the system.
This system and about 18 other ones, but adding.
Again, I do believe, as we've said multiple times, I think coaches could probably, if they put us in charge of like fixing the world, I think we could probably do it.
Let's make that for like a I don't know, 100th episode or 150th episode. We can say like, okay, so today we're gonna fix the world.
Come live and watch us fix the world. That's hooky. I would click on that if that was the title.
That's some great marketing right there.
Good marketing. Yes.
Now I'm actually thinking about this, like, and because there's so many things, and of course, like, once you mention anything school system, I'm like, oh no, because there's so many things that could be torn apart, ripped apart, thrown away. But I don't want to be like negative Nelly, right? Like, there are some things that they could stay, but I think the majority, I think we would be like getting rid of it.
It would, I mean, and what's crazy is, like, we just veered off and we were talking about money and kind of the financial systems and everything like that. But when you take a step back, you realize just how interconnected it all is, and how fragile the whole system is, And
I would also say too, like, how, and I think, Stephanie, you were kind of touching on this, like, how it's actually like so generational. Like, it's not just, we woke up today and money was like, oh, taboo topic. Like, these are things that, like, we've been taught for generations. Like, I'm sure this law that you were talking about, Stephanie, too, like, didn't just come out yesterday. Like, it's been around for a while. And so we wonder why these things are how we live, but it's because this is generational. This is what we've been taught, and our parents were taught, and our grandparents were taught, and our grandparents' grandparents were taught. And it's like, it's so far back. And yeah, money is a big one. I can't, like, even I'm thinking, with my son, and when someone is explaining their job similar to you, Tyler, and like asking your coworker, it's like, well, how much money do you make? And you can see the discomfort in people's faces sometimes. We're like, ooh, like, and almost like looking to me like I'm supposed to say, like, oh, you don't ask people that. Do you know what I mean? But it's a great question. It's curiosity. It's understanding the world and, how things work. And I don't think that we should, we don't need to make this such like a, and I wonder too, like, where did this, like, where did it start? Like, what was it? Like, like, okay, I'm imagining, like, I'm going, like, okay, let's go all the way back, right? So, like, we're going back to the beginning of time. Like, where did that come from? Because, I mean, even just currency in itself, right? Money wasn't like, paper money or like coins or whatever. It was cows and, stones or like different things. So when or what, like, shifted that it became like, oh, you don't tell people how many coins, or you don't tell people how many stones or how many cows we have. Like, we're like, I don't know. I don't even know if we can find the answer for that. Maybe Google could help us, but I'm just curious. Unless, Tyler, do you know?
Well, I don't know how correct this is, and because I've read about this, because again, I'm fascinated with the history of money and like the evolution and how we all got to here. And I want to say this started like back, like medieval England period when, you know, it was more gold coins and things like that that were being traded and whatnot. And again, it was kind of set up in a way to oppress the poor lower class, and it was a way to divide the wealthy from the poor. And so it, you know, and I was reading something and recently, and you know, it's so interesting because again, I'm fascinated with wealthy people. I really just think like, I know I was born to be rich and I know I'm going to get there someday. Like I just, from a young age, like I knew like my path was wealth. And so I've been studying them, and I've been studying their mannerisms, their characteristics. And what's so fascinating is that, you know, a lot of wealthy people are actually, they're very generous in their wealth. They're like willing to give it away, to invest. And that's the big word there, is that they invest. You know, they're smart with their money. You know, they're taking, you know, their assets, and they're investing them into other opportunities. And you know, and so they're just like, they're just creating what more and more wealth upon wealth upon wealth. And that's the system that you know, they've hacked, and that's the system that's been created. And you know, the lower middle class that most of us are, we are like fighting each other. You know, we're fighting, you know, there's so much competition. And this was the point that I was trying to make. Like when you look at the middle class, the working class, the lower class, like there's so much competition amongst each other. You know, we're always competing against each other. Rich people, they collaborate. They don't compete, they collaborate. They come together. You know, they leverage each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it's very collaborative up at the top versus, you know, and it's so fascinating because like we, in where we're at right now, there's so much competition, there's so much scarcity mindset, there's so much like, if the person next to me succeeds, that means I'm not going to succeed. And like, that is that scarcity mindset. And that, to me, it's that competition versus collaboration. I think that's the difference between an abundant mindset and a scarce mindset. You know, you don't have to be in competition with people. You don't need to look at your neighbor and say, you know, I want them to fail so that I can succeed. You both can succeed. It's possible, you know. And the way that we do this is by collaborating. It's through connecting. It's through getting to know the people around us and saying, hey, how can I leverage your strengths, and how can I, you know, how can you leverage my strengths, and how can the two of us come together to be better? That's the goal. That's the real wealth. There is that collaboration is what separates the 1% from like the rest of the world. They collaborate, they connect. You know, it's a very elite space up there, you know. And it's fascinating. And again, I've been going down the research rabbit hole, and like, this has been one of my passions for like several years now. I've been studying up on all of this because I want to crack the code, you know. And I want to change my family's legacy when it comes to money. And I think that's what a lot of us want to do. But what's really challenging is that we don't have these conversations. We don't take the time to be vulnerable and say, this is where I'm struggling and this is what I'm struggling with. And again, this is all identity work. This is mindset work. This is who you are on the inside, you know, and how you think and how you view. These are things that can be changed. We can work on them. And that's why I love what I do as like a marketing coach who does mindset work, because you need both. And I don't know. I don't know. It's a fascinating conversation. And like, we all just need to come together versus trying to conquer each other.
You know, as someone who knows you really well, Tyler, there was this moment. It was so cool during your monologue just now. There was this one moment where it was like, yep, Tyler's switch just went on, and then he was like off to the races. No, it really is like I could tell by just looking at you that there was this just like you start to glow because you love this topic so much. And I really love this. I love when we all in this space and like we can't get enough. And even Glaze in the comments said like, oh my God, so invested in the conversation. And I wanna pick up on the like mindset, you know, scarcity thing. I think that's where we can find like the root cause of this all. That when, or you were talking about, you know, what separates the 1% from the rest, is this belief that, or it's basically this idea that it's not enough for everyone. Like some people get to not have enough or as much as they need or want, and other people get to have way more than they could ever need or want. And so, and I think this is where this is a misconception. I don't believe that's true. I believe there is enough for everyone. It's just the mindset behind it. The scarcity mindset is triggering you to do stuff and to make decisions that will show in your environment exactly that. If you believe there's not enough for everyone, then this is what you're going to see in your environment. And this is then, again, Tyler, you mentioned this with the competition, is actually not, it's like competition in itself is not a bad thing, but when we use it from a mindset of scarcity, we think that we need to be better. And I think I heard this before, even that competition actually means, like the Latin original meaning is even to collaborate with someone. If I please tell me if I'm wrong, but someone told me this at some point. I learned it somewhere in one of the gazillion self-development courses, that competition is actually a good thing, because in its core, it means that you are collaborating. You are competing with someone, because then you make yourself better. Think about like sprinters, right? Sprinters never sprint as fast when there's no one next to them. But when they sprint together, they're like, no, I want to be faster than the guy next to me. And then they do better. So it's a really, really good thing, actually, to be in the competition, but again, from a space of collaboration and not the space of like scarcity. And then something else that I wanted to throw in earlier is this like idea of trading time for money. I think that's also a huge part of why we are where we are with our society and with capitalism, because most of the jobs on this planet are based on, okay, I'm going to go there, I'm going to work for like 8 hours, and then I'm getting my paycheck at the end of the day, week, months, whatever. And I think this is, I don't even know if I have the words to describe this right now, but I believe that at the core of this is not a good thing. I think that we're all meant to, and again, here we go with the like where it all starts and the school systems, and I'm sure Amanda is going to chime in any second, that it's about empowering everyone to see, okay, what are they good at and what do they like to do, and find this like beautiful intersection that we call purpose, and have them do that, and not say, okay, if you do this for 5 hours, this is worth that much in the marketplace. But because they love to do this, there's actually no price. So I would even say that technically we don't need money at all. We could just like exchange whatever we love to do with one another, and we would all be perfectly fine. I really love, like, I dream of a world, and it's maybe a utopia, I don't know, but I dream of a world where we literally have no money and no, like, you know, gold is worth so much and diamonds are worth so much, but we all do what we love to do, and then we exchange whatever for like we exchange our gifts, our services, our goods we produce, whatever. Like, that's my probably utopia.
Ooh, Stephanie!
Yeah. That's a bold vision. Wow. Like, wow, that's actually a lot to chew on, because like, I was just kind of thinking this, like, imagine, somebody who would, like, a doctor who was truly passionate about medicine, and like, healing, and like, what would that look like? You get sick and you go to the doctor, and you might be the local farmer, and you bring crops to the community, and like, wow, could a world like that actually exist? I don't know. It's a big question to think about, but what would a world without money look like?
But I wonder, like, didn't the world exist like this at some point already?
It
Because there was a
did.
point, and again, we all need to.
Did.
I'm sure we're all gonna get off this call today and gonna do some research on,
Yep.
on money.
Yep.
Definitely.
Wait for us next week. We're gonna give you a whole lecture. No, but I think at some point there were no coins, there was no gold, and so people
Well,
were literally doing that. They were
they
living in
did.
these tribes, kind of like the indigenous people. I think today you live
Yeah.
in your little like tribe village, and some people are there to harvest the corn, and some people go and fetch some water, and some people take care of the children. And that's just, I mean, it's a small scale, but still, I think this is what it was at some point, until someone said, no, I want to have all the corn because I'm scared. Again, this is all a fear mindset. I'm scared that I'm not going to have enough to go through winter, so I'm going to steal someone else's corn, or I'm going to keep the corn and no one else gets it, and you get to be the poor people who don't have any corn. And I think this is probably some version of that started this. I don't think that someone invented money for the sake of helping people. I think money was probably invented for greedy reasons, but yeah, I really need to look this up. Again, don't quote me on any of this.
I'm gonna get off this call and like definitely go down like the research rabbit hole, and then probably go on Netflix and like binge watch some of like the money documentaries that are out there, that because I'm like, I'm really into this. But I think you're right, Stephanie. I do think, there was a world before money, and there's probably going to be a world after money, and I think there's so many of us, and this is coming up more so as people are, I call it awakening. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, it's more as more people are starting to awaken and start to ask and seek answers to these bigger questions. I think this is why, like, practices like minimalism are drawing so many people to minimalism, and to this, like, how can I live with less, and how is, living as simply as possible, in like, how does that kind of equate to more freedom, because the systems that we are in right now, you work all of these hours for a little bit of a paycheck that goes into, paying bills, and, the mortgage, and all of these kind of things. Like, it's kind of a nightmare when you really think about it. And I think a lot of people are yearning for more of that. Like, what does modern day freedom look like? And how can I achieve that? True freedom, independence, and like, I do think, I think it does come back to, there's a larger movement right now of people like building community farms and homesteading and doing a lot of these types of things, where they are intentionally choosing to not participate so much in the capitalistic society, and into the consumerism and all of these kind of things. And to me, I feel like that's freedom. Like, if I could just wake up every morning and like talk to people and coach and do this type of work, like, I wouldn't need to get paid for it if I had somebody there who was exchanging, if somebody was sending me food in exchange for it, or, so like, again, it is that principle of like, I'll come help you do something if you help me do something. And as I've started to really grow my business here, I've been doing a lot more of that type of collaboration where we are exchanging skills. I'm helping somebody with this, they're helping me with that. And again, that's collaboration as well. And I think that can be a very sustaining way of living. It's just different. It just feels radically different because it's like, do we really need money?
I kind of see this more as like an energetic exchange. Even while you were making your bold statements over there, Stephanie, I was like, I see this like it's an energetic exchange. And when we can, in any environment, value not only our own, but other people's gifts and strengths, there's so much power in that. There's so much more that we can accomplish. And I think, to me, this is like defining collaboration, right? Like we can do so much more together. It's like there's a quote like this, that something like, and I'm sure you've heard it before. It's kind of, and I'm gonna butcher it because I can't remember exactly what it is. But the idea is basically like we can do so much more together. This idea, and I think that that's really important for us to remember. Whether it's in us having conversations like this about money, or even where we started in, really talking about the struggles, really talking about the lifing of life and the humanness that we all struggle. And sometimes things are hard, and sometimes things are messy, and sometimes we want to live in a world that doesn't have money. Right? Like there's so many things that I think we can all learn from each other. And the more that we have these types of conversations, the more that we can connect with each other, and the more that we can all work together instead of having the competition and the comparison. Because if someone else is doing something, then it means that whatever they're doing is also available to us. We don't need to be, comparing ourselves. We can actually see a way to, okay, well, if it's possible for that person, then it must also be possible for me too. And this goes for having the wealth. This goes for, seeing somebody struggle and then seeing them on the other side, that it is, and I think that's what really connects us, right? Is seeing that we can grow together, and we can work together and just make the world a better place, as cliche as that sounds. But I think that we can make a difference. We truly, truly can make a difference. That's my final thoughts for today.
I love you anchored this in once again, that it's really about community or togetherness. And I know exactly what quote you wanted to say. And I've been trying to also quote this, but I can never. But it sounds so cool when you say this sentence. It's basically that the sum of the whole is greater than each individual added up together. So it sounds so much better, but I think that's the quote. And yeah, I really need to look this up too. Figure this out.
Lots of research to do after
yeah, wait up world, because next week we're gonna come prepared, right?
we're coming prepared, and we're coming at a new time next week. So we will, I could add a final thought, but I won't, because that could open up a can of worms. But I will end it with, next week we are starting at a new time. We are going live at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, which means that is 6:30 in the morning Tyler time. So it'll be fun. It'll be a great way to really kick off the mornings. and kind of like anchor into the day. I'm really excited for this. I know, well, for Stephanie, it'll still be the afternoonish evening. I don't know. What time will it be for you, Steph?
It will be 1:30 in
the afternoon.
in Central European time.
Okay, yeah. Central European time. So, but it'll be early morning for me and Amanda, early afternoon for Stephanie, but new time next week, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. Come wake up with Kaya. Come join us. Let's anchor in the day. Let's get started on the right foot. And I'm going to end it with thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for being so active with the comments and the love. We so appreciate every single one of you. And have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. And we will see you next week at our new time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. You can follow the show on Instagram at Kaya the Podcast and on YouTube and Facebook by searching Kaya the Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please help us keep the conversation going by subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. And be sure to join us next time for another deep conversation.